إن حالي في هواها عجب.
North Africa, between Tunis and Fez, Qayrawan and Meknes, Mustaghanim and Tlemcen, not a single street is void of a Sidi so-and-so or a Sidi such-and-such. The Islamic popular culture reports that this land is the sprouting ground of saints, awliya, just as it was said that the East is the landing place of prophets. Welcome to a new journey in which we interrogate the spiritual history of North Africa. When we speak of Sufism today, we often fall into the trap of generalization, failing to differentiate between the myriad movements it encompasses. However, to truly understand these movements, we must view the scene through the eyes of the historian and the researcher. To do so, we must travel back in time, specifically to the moments of great transformation that shaped today's Sufi orders. The contemporary Sufi landscape is not a product of chance, rather it is the result of a long struggle between two currents. The first is a current founded on seeking blessings or barakah, ancestral heritage and conformity to the political order for the sake of privilege. The second is a current of the spiritual elite, one that made the Zawiyas a beacon of knowledge, seeking the realization of divine knowledge or marifa at any cost, serving through it both the individual and society. Today, we open the file of this second current, the current represented by the historical line connecting the Darqawi Revolution in the 19th century, the Alawi modernity in the 20th century, and the Karkari revival in our present time. Let us begin from the roots, from the Morocco of the early 19th century. We are speaking of a period of political and social turbulence, a time of weak central authority, or what is known as the era of Siba or dissidence. In this critical timing, Sheikh Moulay Al-Arabi Al-Darqawi, died 1823, appeared. Al-Darqawi was not merely a traditional order sheikh, he was a radical reformer within the Shadhili house. He found that Sufism in his era had become burdened by appearances, opulent Zawiyas and titles. So what did he do? He created a rupture. He revived the principle of dropping self-management, or isqat al-tadbir, and voluntary poverty. Imagine with me nobles and great scholars in Fez, Meknes, Tangier and Rabat, ordered by the sheikh to wear the Muraqqa'a, or patched cloak, hang rosaries or subha around their necks, and beg in the markets to break the ego or el-ana. This social shock was necessary to breathe spirit back into the calcified body of Sufism. The Darqawiya was not merely litanies, it was a revolution against the self and against social stereotypes, making it the most prominent spiritual force in the Maghreb throughout the 19th century. This is what allowed it to reach the heart of the Ottoman Caliphate's capital, and as historians have recorded, Sultan Abdul Hamid Khan, may God have mercy on him, was a Darqawi. We then move through time to Algeria in the early 20th century, specifically the city of Mustaghanim in 1909, the date of the founding of the independent Alawiya order. Here, the context is entirely different. We are now under the weight of French colonialism, facing the rise of two currents hostile to traditional Sufism, Western materialist modernity on one hand, and the Salafi movement, later the Association of Algerian Muslim Ulema on the other. In this battlefield, Sheikh Ahmed ibn Mustafa al-Alawi, died 1934, appeared. The genius of Sheikh al-Alawi, historically speaking, lies in the fact that he did not retreat, rather he confronted modernity with its own tools. He established newspapers such as Al-Balagh al-Jazairi, debated Orientalists, and presented Sufism not as popular folklore, but as a precise and systematic science of knowledge.
Sheikh Al-Alawi restored the centrality of the spiritual retreat, Khalwa, and the supreme name, Allah, presenting a rigorous curriculum for spiritual ascension that was able to convince even European minds, becoming the bridge over which Islamic spirituality crossed to the West, influencing philosophers of the traditionalist school, such as René Guénon and Fritjof Schwann. Some may ask, where has this heavy legacy gone? Have the Alawiya and Darqawiya turned into mere heritage and museums? The answer comes to us from contemporary Morocco via the Karkaria order. When researchers such as Patrick Reichert or Joseph Thibodeau look at the Karkaria today, they do not see merely a new group, but a stunning resurgence of the ancient mechanisms we have spoken of. Sheikh Mohammed Fawzi al-Karkari, whose spiritual chain connects via Sheikh al-Hassan and his grandfather Sheikh Mohammed al-Tahir, reaching back to the Alawi branch, has revived two essential pillars that had nearly vanished in our era. The first, the colorful Muraqqa'a, which takes us directly back to the time of Moulay Al-Arabi Al-Darqawi, as a stark visual tool to break habits and to cure from the exhibitionism of our current societies. The second is the visual opening, or witnessing, called in Arabic mushahada, which is the direct extension of the Alawi method of witnessing the divine name, Allah, in the spiritual seclusion, or khalwa. The Karkaria here does not present itself only as an association for dhikr, or remembrance, but as a school of vision. This insistence that the disciple must see the light of the heavens and earth with their own eyes brings the ancient theological debate regarding sainthood, or wilaya, and spiritual knowledge, or marifa, to the forefront. Thus we are before a thin but strong thread, stretching from the alleys of Fez in the 19th century, passing through the printing presses of Mostaganem in the 30s, arriving to the digital space and the lived reality of the Karkaria today. What unites these three stations is not only the chain of names, but the unity of concern. The concern of extracting the disciple from the prison of habits and the monotony of formal religiosity into the vastness of free tasting experience. In an era where materialism has tyrannized, it seems that the historical need for this type of living and disruptive Sufism is as urgent as it has ever been.